Welcome to Bethel Online Education Hub. Learn anytime, anywhere. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more. Let's learn together, the Bethel way.
Good day, everyone. Welcome to another and exciting lessons in understanding culture, society, and politics. Today, we will dive into the fascinating world of political and leadership structures, the system that help manage, organize, and guide entire societies. These structures are not just about laws and government. They are about how people came together to make decisions, maintain order, distribute power, and provide direction for communities. From the earliest tribes led by chiefs and elders to the complex government of modern nations. Leadership and political system have always shaped how societies functions. They determine who holds authorities, how rules are created, and how conflicts are solved, and how resources are shared. Let's begin with the questions. What do you call an institution or a system that made up of a group of people that take care of or manage a country or state? Yes, that's right. The government. But have you ever wondered why do we even need a government? Why can't people just live freely without leaders, rules, or authority? The truth is, without an organized system to guide society, there will be confusion, conflict, and even chaos. Government exists to provide structure, ensure safety, create laws, settle disputes, and manage resources so that people can live together peacefully and productively. Let's get started. What is political organizations? Political organization refers to the way society are structured, governed, and managed. It deals with how groups of people create rules, enforce them, and make decisions that affect the whole community. Simplify put it answers the questions who holds power, how they use it, and how is society kept in order. Throughout history, human societies have developed different systems of political organization to manage leadership, power, and decision making. In small, early communities, leadership was often informal. Elders, chiefs, or respected individuals guided the group based on wisdom, strength, or tradition. As the societies grow larger and more complex, formal system of governance emerge, giving rise to kingdoms, empires, and eventually the modern nation states we know today. Political organizations are important because they provide order and stability by setting rules and resolve conflict. They distribute power and responsibilities among leaders and citizens. They ensure cooperation so that resources can be managed fairly and effectively. They legitimize authority, giving leaders the right to rule through tradition, law, or the consent of the people. By studying political organization, we can better understand not only how government functions, but also how societies balance power, authority, and legitimacy. This helps us see why some systems succeed in promoting peace and development, while others struggles with conflict and inequality. There are four forms of political organization. The first is the bands, the simplest political organization in human societies. A band is the most basic form of political organization, commonly found in hunting and gathering societies. It is often regarded as the earliest and simplest political structure in human history. Bands are usually composed of 30 to 50 individuals, often connected by blood or marriage, making them feel like one large extended family. Because of their small size, everyone knows each other personally, creating close-knit relationship. Bands have no formal government, nor king or centralized authority. Leadership is informal and situational, often based on age, wisdom, or hunting skills. However, no individuals has absolute power over others. They are highly egalitarian, meaning all members are considered equal regardless of gender or age. There is no social classes and there is no private property. Resources are shared. Decisions are made through group consensus, where discussions involve participation of most. Band survive by foraging, gathering fruits, nuts, roots, and hunting or fishing. They are nomadic, moving from one place to another in search of food and water without building permanent village or towns. Because survival depends on cooperation. Bands value reciprocity and mutual support and collective responsibility over individual gain. Leadership is decentralized, meaning no one person makes all the decisions. Conflict are usually settled through discussion and persuasion, not through formal punishment. If disagreement cannot be solved, the group may separate peacefully. Some members might leave from a new band, a process known as band petitioning. Anthropologists also call this social velocity, a natural way of resolving disputes in societies without policies, court, or formal laws. Examples of bands in the real world is the Mabuti of Congo rainforest and the Juhan Sea of Kalahari Desert in Africa. These groups are still studied today by anthropologists as living examples of how early humans organized their societies, highlighting the cooperation, inequality, and collective survival. Now, let's talk about the tribes. A political organization based on shared culture and identity. A tribe is a larger and more complex political organization than a band. It is a social group made up of many families, clans, or generations who shared a common language, customs, territory, and beliefs. Tribes are bigger than bands, often composed of several extended families. Members are connected by shared culture, identity, not necessarily by direct kinship. Tribes share a common language, religion, values, and traditions, which unify the group and guide their way of life. Like bands, tribes are generally egalitarian, meaning no formal social classes, and decisions are often made with group participation. However, there is more defined leadership compared to band. Leadership is formal but not centralized. This there is no king or central ruler with complete power. Tribes are usually led by a village headman or the big man. Unlike chiefs in chiefdoms, the big man does not inherit his position. It is earned based on sharing resources with others, good at speaking and persuading, bravery, physical strength, and spiritual or supernatural powers. A big man leads by influence and respect, not by force. Tribes are often organized through pan-tribal association, institutions that go beyond family or village ties to unite the whole tribe. This can take the form of councils, groups of elders, men or women, age set, or warriors societies. These structures help resolve conflict, organize rituals, or even coordinate defense or war. Now, let's talk about the chiefdoms, the more complex and hierarchical political organization. A chiefdom represents a more advanced level of political structure than bands or tribes. It's introduced formal leadership, social ranking, and often includes multiple communities under the control of a single leader. Political authority is centralized in a single individual known as the chief. The chief acts as the highest authority and may consult with an advisory council, but his words often hold the most weight. Unlike the big man in tribes who earn leadership, the position of the chief is inherited, usually passed down within one ruling family. This creates a social and political elite class, the chief, his family, and their inner circle. Chiefdoms are not egalitarian. They are ranked societies, meaning people are born into different social levels. Chief and their families are at the top. Commoners have lower status and less political power. Chiefdoms include several villages or communities that are ruled under one chief authority. This political unit is larger and more densely populated than a tribe. One key feature of a chiefdom is redistribution. The chief collects the goods or tribute from the people. Then he redistribute them according to social needs or status. This helps maintain power, loyalty, and social order. In many chiefdoms, chiefs are believed to possess mana or supernatural power that justify their rights to rule. This spiritual belief adds a sacred or divine quality to the chief's authority. Now let's talk about the states, the most formal and complex political organization. A state is the highest level of political organization in human society. It is a large, complex political unit governed by centralized authority, and it holds power over a specific territory and population. Unlike bands, tribes, or chiefdoms, which are based on kinship, states are based on laws, institutions, and formal political structures. The state has a formal government that perform essential functions such as collecting taxes, enforcing laws, drafting citizen for a labor or military services, making and implementing public policies. A state exercises authority over a clear defined geographical area, and the people living within it, including citizens, institutions, and resources. States have a professional and structured bureaucracy, a system of officials and departments that manage areas like health, education, defense, and public services. Four essential elements of a state. First is the people, the citizen who live under the authority of the state. Second is the territory, a clear defined geographic area. Third is the government, the institutions that enforce laws and policies. And lastly, the sovereignty, the supreme authority of the state to govern itself without external interference. Two foundations of the state authority. First is the monopoly of the use of force. Only the state has the exclusive right to use or authorize the use of physical force, for example, police, military, and prisons. This gives the state the power to enforce law, maintain order, and protect its people. Next is the ideological legitimacy. The, the state maintains its authority not only through force, but also through ideology, a set of beliefs that justify its rules. These include nationalism, religion, political philosophies, laws, and education systems. Now, let's talk about authority and legitimacy. According to the sociologist Max Weber, authority is more than just the ability to force others to obey. It is the recognized right to command and expectation of obedience. Unlike raw power, which can be based on fear or coercion, authority is accepted as rightful by the people who follow it. Here's the key picture of authority. Directed toward common goals and objectives. Authority is not meant for personal gain, but for the benefit of the group or society. Next is the recognized and accepted. People obey because they believe that person who or institution has the legitimate right to lead. And last, always legitimate. Authority is considered proper, rightful, and justified, not just imposed. Therefore, what makes authority binding and worthy of obedience is its legitimacy. Without legitimacy, authority would collapse into a mere coercion or brute force. Okay, let's talk about legitimacy. Legitimacy is the value or belief that a leader, government, or political system has the right to rule. It is what transforms raw powers into mere control or force into recognize and respect authority. Without legitimacy, power is unstable because people will not willingly follow rules or leaders they don't accept. Such powers is often questioned, resisted, or overthrown. With legitimacy, powers become durable as people recognize it as rightful and are more likely to obey voluntary rather than out of fear. In short, au- authority equals legitimate power. It is recognized, respect, and used for shared goals rather than just personal gain. According to Max Weber, legitimacy is essential element that makes authority binding and acceptable in the eyes of people. This means that leaders are not just obeyed because they are powerful, but because people believe they have rightful claim to lead. Example, a president-elect through free and fair election has legitimacy because the people recognize the process as just. On the other hand, a dictator who rules only through fear lacks of legitimacy, and their authority is often fragile. Now, let's proceed with the traditional authority. Traditional authority is when a person or institution holds power because of long-standing customs, cultural beliefs, and historical traditions. People accept this authority because they believe that tradition determines who should rule and how they should rule. This type of authority is usually inherent or passed down from one generation to another. And it's rarely questioned because it is considered the way things have always been. Here are the key pictures of traditional authority based on heritage and custom. Leadership is tied to only family lineage or cultural practices. Next is the inherit, not earned. Authority comes by birthright, not by merit or qualification. Next, personal and family based. Authority is often attached to specific families or clans. Last, root in religion, kinship, or hierarchy, often linked to sacred beliefs or social in structures. Here are the examples of traditional authority. First is the monarchies. King and queens ruled because of royal bloodlines. Next is the patriarchy. Authority is passed to male family heads. Other example is the religious leaders. Power is derived from sacred traditions. And last example is the caste system. Authority and status are fixed at birth and maintained by customs. Now let's talk about the advantage or the pros. Simple transfer of power. Succession is clear. Stability and continuity. Reinforce cultural identity and long-standing tradition. Next, clarity in leadership. People know who has authority, reducing disputes over succession. Disadvantage or the cons. First is difficult to change because it is rooted in tradition, reforms or progress are resisted. Next, lack of qualifications. Leaders may be incompetent but still inherit the power. Next, restrictive or discriminatory. Excludes women, lower class, or other groups from leadership opportunities. Traditional authorities is legitimized by customs and traditions, not by performance. Ability or legal system, people obey because the leader proves competence, but because it has always been this way. While it can promote unity, stability, and continuity, it may also limit social progress and reinforce inequality. Now let's talk about charismatic authority. Charismatic authority is power that comes from a leader's personal charm, heroism, or perceived extraordinary qualities. People obey because they believe the leader is special, gifted, or even divinely inspired. Unlike traditional authority, which is based on customs or legal national authority, based on rules and laws. Charismatic authority depends on the magnetic personality, vision, or spiritual influence of an individual. Here's the key pictures of charismatic authority. First, based on personal qualities. The leader's charisma, vision, or perceived divine connection gives them legitimacy. Next, legitimacy comes from belief. Followers obey because they trust or admire the leader, not because the rules or tradition. Next, often emerge in time of crisis or change. Charismatic leaders rise when people are searching for hope, direction, and transformation. Last, unstable and temporary. Authority lasts only as long as the leader maintains their charisma and public support. Here are some examples of charismatic leaders. First, Martin Luther King Jr., civil rights leaders with a powerful vision of quality and justice. Next is the Mahatma Gandhi, inspired nonviolent resistance through moral authority and example. Next, Adolf Hitler used charisma to manipulate and rally a nation. Next, religious prophets such as Jesus, Muhammad, or Buddha believed to have divine guidance. And last example is the revolutionary leaders like Nelson Mandela or Fidel Castro. Now, let's talk about the advantage and disadvantage of charismatic authority. First is the advantage. Emotional connection. It inspires hope, loyalty, and passion among followers. Next, drives social change. Challenges old system and encourage innovation. Next, encourage action and unity. It motivates people to work together for a shared vision or cause. Disadvantage. Over depends of the leader. If the leader dies, loses influence, or fails, the movement may collapse. Next, risk of blind obedience. Followers may stop thinking critically and rely only on the leader's words. Next, possibility of manipulation. Charisma can be exploited to deceive or control people for personal gain. Charismatic authority comes from a leader's unique traits and devotion. They inspire, not from laws or traditions. It can be powerful force for positive change when guided by moral vision. But it also can be unstable or dangerous when it is used to manipulate or exploit followers. Now, let's proceed with the last type of authority. Legal rational authority is the power that comes from a system of rules, laws, and procedures. Unlike traditional authority or charismatic authority, this type of authority is tied to a legal framework that everyone is expected to follow. In this system, authority is considered legitimate because it is exercised according to established rules, often written in constitutions, laws, or formal policies. Key pictures of a legal rational authority based on formal rules and procedures. Authority exists because of laws and regulation, not tradition or charisma. Next, power comes from position. A leader's authority is tied to their office, title, or role, not their personality or family background. Next, written laws and codes. Constitutions, charters, and legal document define powers and responsibilities. Next, selection by qualifications. Leaders or officials are usually elected and appoint or hire based on merit, exam, or training. And hierarchical last is the hierarchical structure. Organizations follow a chain of command with a clear duties and responsibilities. Here are some examples of legal rational authority. First is the government officials like presidents, senator, mayors. Judge, making ruling based on constitutional laws. Next, public servant and bureaucrats, carrying out official duties. And next, school administrator, police officer, and military enforcers, acting under established rules. And last example is the corporate manager, exercising authority through company policies. Now let's talk about the advantage. First, efficient governance. Division of labor ensures everyone know their roles. Next, fairness and equality. Everyone is subject to the same set of laws. Next, accountability and transparency. Decisions are documented and can be reviewed or changed. Next, merit-based power. Positions are often earned through qualification, training, or elections. And the disadvantage. First is corruption. Officials may misuse their authority for personal gain. Next, nepotism. Favoritism in hiring or promotions undermines merit. Next, salary inequality. Large gaps may exist between high-ranking and low-ranking workers. Next, excessive red tape. Too many rules and procedures can be slow decision making. Legal rational authority is the most common type of authority in modern societies, especially in governments, schools, corporations, and institutions. People obey leaders not because of traditional or charisma, but because those leaders hold a lawful role within an established system. This type of authority promotes stability, fairness, and efficiency. But it can also be weakened by corruption, bureaucracy, and inequality. As we have seen, political leadership structures, whether in the forms of bands, tribes, chiefdoms, or states, reflect the different ways human societies have organized power and authority throughout history, from small group guided by consensus to complex government ruled by laws and institutions. Each system shows how people work together to maintain order, resolve conflicts, and ensure survival. We also learn that leadership is not just about power, but about authority and legitimacy. According to Max Weber, Authority becomes meaningful when it's recognized as rightful, whether through traditional charisma or legal rules. This foundation of authority explain why people follow leaders, how government maintain stability, and why legitimacy is the key to long-lasting political system. Understanding these structures help us see that politics is not simply about leaders and laws. It is about relationship, cooperation, and trust between people and institution. Strong political systems are built on fairness, accountability, and legitimacy, while weak ones often fail when authority loses its rightful claim. So, as we move forward with our study of culture, society, and politics, remember, political leadership is not only about those at the top. It is about how we, as a members of society, recognize, participate in, and sustain system of governance. Political organization and types of authorities reveals how society balance power, legitimacy, and responsibility to ensure order and progress. Okay, that's all for today. Thank you.